You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. This week on The Biz, the Extreme Retirement Solutions Series. And on today's show, the math and science of GLWB with special guest, top and core to the table, Curtis Cloke, creator of the Annuity bulldozer.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And with me, day 4, Dr. Dia. Boy, I'm talking about distribution all week long in such technical terms, but it's all about math. It's all about science. Welcome to the show, Professor.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, you know, I'm thinking about it. These are really important issues. And when people think about GLWB, and they're always talking about your guaranteed riders and guaranteed this and that and the other, there's a lot of fantasy out there and a lot of myth. And hopefully we'll break some of that and do a little myth busting on the show today. I want to talk about, when we're talking about math and science, that brings us to a place of what I call pure objectivity. We're agnostic. We really don't care where the chips fall. If it's better to do this investment, that savings plan, we're going with it. Whatever delivers the best money. When I'm looking at this buy income and invest the difference attitude, talk a little bit about that, because everybody understands buy term, invest the difference. You're saying no, buy income now. You're buying income and invest the difference. Talk about that.
Well, you know, the question is we've asked the client the questions to define the resources, the pension, the Social Security, their cash flow desires and income for the income floor and retirement, and we've done. Let's just assume we've done all of that math and science. We now have a defined gap, and it's a jagged edge, as we spoke about before. And so how do we make the impossible possible? How do we turn this income gap using the resources of investable assets we have left and position it in a way that we can fill the gap and still do so with a suitable amount that's walled off for the income floor, while having a very suitable amount for liquidity and opportunity for growth and potential legacy planning. And we talked about this in a prior show, but there's 3 fundamental things that we adhere to, and they become very big principles. Number 1, it must be an inflation-adjusted, which is key to us, lifetime income story. So not just an income for life story on a level income floor basis, but an inflation-adjusted lifetime income stream, and that's a little different.
And are there products that work with this?
There are products specific to this that we'll discuss. The second principle is we must maximize the tax efficiency. Well, everybody says they want to maximize tax efficiency, but many times, not always, they're leaving off the greatest tax efficiency that might exist. And it's what we know in the technical word as tax exclusion ratio, but we've termed that as FIBO. First in, blend out. That's the term we use with the consumer. And so the IRS has taken certain products, very unique, and created a completely different order of tax. And though we don't have time to get into it today, Steve, in your show, there's a tax efficiency that applies to both the non-qualified and even the qualified, which you'd have to learn about through our Thrive Universities. And we get into a whole segment, a whole chapter on how the efficiencies could really apply on even the qualified. And the third and final principle that make the possible and what was impossible now possible is to minimize the fee drag. And in some cases, we're going to talk about complete elimination of the fee drag. Now understand, if I can contractually guarantee inflation-adjusted income, if you can understand, we're going to talk about minimizing taxes and elimination or minimization of the fee drag, I suddenly am able to talk about a pure return model. I don't have to chase the same rates of return, and the level of risk the client must be acceptable for them. It's going to be a very different story, and the assets that I wall off will be less to create more. So we call it the most for the least story. And if you think about an income annuity, there is no ongoing fee drag. It's built on margins, but what you see, like a certificate deposit in the bank, what you see is what you get. Think of it this way. If I go and I buy a CD at the bank, I didn't pay a fee for that. But if I go to the loan department a minute later and say, now I want to borrow what I just put in the CD, it's no longer the same rate as the CD. What's the difference? The difference is a spread. In the case of an income annuity, that spread is the onus of the manufacturer. They're the ones that are at risk of whether they get their spread or not. But I'm testing the pure returns of the deal for the client fitting the gap. If that fits, that's a pure return that has no ongoing fee drag associated with those deposit dollars. It creates exclusion ratio with FIBO, or efficiencies to the tax unqualified, which we won't talk about here. And because I can buy income that is 3% built in, 4% built in, 2% built in, and I can do it in increments of 1/10 of a point in any increment I want based on products that would be available, I can dynamically affect the gap on an inflationary basis, and I can buy it. I can buy it for income today. I can buy it for income in the future. And never before, because we didn't know we could buy the future, never before was it comprehended broadly in the marketplace that you could actually buy income in the future 5-10 years before retirement and eliminate the danger zone, or the red zone as Prudential likes to call it. And so now we can do it, whether it's income now or whether it's income later. And we can marry a plan bought prior to retirement while avoiding that danger zone, the red zone period, and building in pure returns, as we talked about, but nominal versus real returns, getting much closer to the real returns. We're not chasing the same gambit of risk. And at the same time, we're using way less because of the efficiencies to wall off the income floor while we're positioning assets for growth and liquidity and legacy.
Do you, on a rule of thumb, do you think how much, is it 60-40 we're walling off? Is it 70-30? What's the number, do you think? I know it's different for every client, but is there any rule of thumb?
Yeah, I think the basic rule of thumb is no more than 50%. I will tell you, though, that we're working with clients in the 20, 30, 40, 50, even $100 million range on high estate plan cases where we're focusing on the cash flow piece. The more money we're talking about, we might edge into the 60% range if we've got clients with millions of dollars. But generally speaking, there's a suitable, in my mind, there's a suitable balance of 50. No more than 50 walled off for income, and that leaves 50 for the liquidity.
When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about the math and science and GLWB with Curtis Cloke and introduce the idea of implied yield. That's going to be huge. Don't forget to visit IULUniversity.com for the best training and education for life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Did you know the average 401k runs out of money just 7 to 8 years into retirement? Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications have warned of the difficulty of saving with a 401k. But what if there was a way to create tax-free lifetime retirement income with no stock market risk? Good news, there is.
Living in fear of the next market dive is not the way I want to live my life.
Why would I go out there and take on risk when I don't need to?
I have a lot less stress knowing I can't lose any more of my retirement savings in the stock market.
Call now to receive your free, no-obligation analysis of what this retirement vehicle could do for you, a comparison to your current retirement plan, and a free video that explains this exciting opportunity. Start planning a retirement you can enjoy instead of worrying about future tax increases and stock market losses. Creating income that will last your entire life is the most important thing you'll ever do. Take control of your future. Call now for your free analysis, comparison, and video.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Curtis Cloke. And remember, you can order today's materials at thebiz.tv. And while you're out there, click on the Backroom Technician icon right on the Biz blog for their 30-day free trial offer for the best needs analysis and educational material for nearly every financial planning scenario. And remember, today, Curtis is offering his Annuity Bulldozer, a free 30-day trial. Just go out there, just write, you'll see it at the lower third, download.annuitybulldozer.com. And just a heads up, before moving forward with anything you ever hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor and legal counsel, as well as your broker-dealer compliance officer if you're so FINRA licensed. We're talking about some of the basic ideas of math and science. I want to walk through your basic 3 strategies here. You call it the SWIP, SWIP, Systematic Withdrawal Income Plan. Talk a little about that.
The systematic withdrawal income plan has been around, with modern portfolio theory forever. Basically, we call it an assume and consume strategy. Basically, you're assuming rates of return. You're assuming a certain distribution. There is no guarantees associated with that. It's not a bad strategy, and it's certainly one that many choose to retire to. But that's one of the 3 basic strategies that can be used. The second strategy is the bucket or laddered approach. Now, the segmentation of money for a laddered approach is certainly many out there have adapted it, and certainly you can incorporate guarantees as part of that segmentation story. But the third general way in which we can create income strategies for retirement is what I call the retirement income floor. And we kind of incorporate tandem buckets in conjunction with the retirement income floor. So we very much subscribe to the income floor concept. And within that, we may be doing some segmentation, but it might not look like where this one stops, the next one starts. It may be, because we have a jagged edge of income gap, this one starts today, and then in tandem later, another one starts. So I may have tandem bucket segmentation where they're all paying, maybe 3 or 4 paying out at the same time. So a little different approach. But and we're focused on those clients who really want to guarantee a certain level of floor income. And so if we're talking about guarantees, based on what I've already said in a prior show, is you can't have guarantees unless you're willing to have a conversation about an insurance product. And there are 3 basic products that we have to talk about that provide guarantees. SPIA, been around forever. DIA, not as common, less known, deferred income annuities. And then the guaranteed withdrawal benefit riders that are associated with deferred annuities. And so that's probably where we go next.
Well, when you think about these guaranteed income riders, some contracts, you have to pay for this, right? And is it worth it? I'm asking you, you're the bulldozer. You're the annuity bulldozer. Professor, is it worth it?
Well, you know, Moshe Milevsky wrote an article for Research Magazine in July of 2009, and he basically said, look, consumers are rushing into these variable indexed purchases, and they really don't know how to calculate the difference between investment Celsius and economic Fahrenheit. The scales, the term rate of return sound very similar, but the scales are very different. And so as an advisor myself, as an insurance agent myself, I often would ask the question, what do all these moving parts of the bonus and the roll-up and the withdrawal rate and what's the gross return of the product going to generate? And is the fee based on the account balance, or is the fee based on the phantom income base? And how long is the client going to live? That a lot of time determines, you know, what the returns are going to be. And the question is, and Moshe says, you know, advisors should provide clients with the embedded investment return, i.e. the cash equivalent yield of those products. And tried to do it longhand for a lot of years as I was trying to figure out product allocation. And that's where the annuity bulldozer came in, as we said, you know, this is so insidious to try to figure out by the general advisor, and certainly clients don't have a clue. And so this annuity bulldozer allows you to plug in all those pieces of math and science, and then it will tell you at what point the asset would be cannibalized or not, what the death benefit projection of the sum might be at the end of the case based on the target longevity that you pick, and it will tell you what the implied yield is. How much would you have had to earn had that money, in lieu of being in the deferred annuity, had to earn in a certificate of deposit at the bank? And so it takes about 30 seconds, if you know your products, how to plug the information in and get an outcome. And then you can actually plug in more than one product. If you're in the tool itself, you can actually put 9 or 10 up on the screen and look at them side by side. There's a PDF report that allows you to actually print it off and look at it side by side. But there's a single tabular report, puts it in graphical form and color, that really helps most advisors really understand the true pure math and science of the implied yield. Now I have to say, Steve, we are agnostic when it comes to solving guaranteed income for the income floor. We really don't care whether it's an income rider or whether it's a SPIA or a DIA. We just simply look at whether it's income now or income in the future, and we test mathematically which one provides the greatest outcome. Now, what will be very interesting is we'll learn very quickly what products, it's not about the roll-up rate. It's not, in fact, about what you normally think that it's about. It's oftentimes something that would trip you up and not help you, see clearly without doing the math and science. So it's a product allocation tool that says, from an agnostic point of view, which one truly delivers what I'm trying to accomplish. 50% of the time, given the low interest rate environment today, it in fact might be an indexed GLWB rider. It actually might be an income in the future story against a DIA. And about 50% of the time, today a DIA might be the answer. We don't know what the answer is until we test it out. And so that's what these tools are.
So we don't, not only do we not know, so we have to actually look at it, but what your bulldozer does, the annuity bulldozer, it really takes all this into account and just lays out the numbers, and it is what it is. That's what I like about it. I love objectivity, and I think the clients get the spreadsheet. I think they really enjoy it. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me at steve@thebiz.tv. Well, that's the buzz for today. We'll catch you tomorrow. You've been in the zone, the business insurance zone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.